All right, I think we're live. Good morning. Welcome to Miracle Mornings Live. I've learned that I should really wave and smile for a little bit at the beginning of the live so that I can get a good thumbnail later. If you forget, then it's always like awkward thumbnails of you just talking. So good morning. If you're joining live, say hello in the comments, say hi in the chat, and tell me where you're joining from. I like to make sure that the chat is working when I go live. Today, we are going to chat about one of my favorite topics. I have a lot of favorite topics, huh? We're going to talk about astrology today. So this is funny. This was inspired by a conversation. I was traveling this past weekend. I went back up to Rhode Island and Massachusetts to have a very quick whirlwind visit with some friends and family. And my friend's daughter was, I don't know how the topic even came up, but something about astrology came up. I think maybe I was asking her what the girls' birthdays were and thinking about what sign they were. And then she said, what's that? And my friend said, I have no idea about any of that. You got to ask Auntie Heidi. She knows. So I was trying to explain to her what a birth chart was, or what astrology basically is. And this is explaining it to like an 8-year-old. So I basically just was telling her what I'm going to talk to you guys about today, which is really simplifying it, just really simplifying astrology. So a lot of people, when they hear the word astrology, a lot of people will say I don't believe in any of that stuff. And it's funny because a lot of people consider it like a thought or a belief system, but it's really not. It's really more of a science. It's a study it's a study over the past thousands of years that of the position of the planets and the stars and the sun and the moon and the sky, and how those planetary positions could influence what happens in our lives personally, but also on a global scale. And if you look back over the course of all recorded history, you can always see a snapshot of what the map of the sky on any particular day, because the position of the sun and the moon and the stars is always moving relative to the earth, because we're always moving too. And you can look for patterns. Some planets have a long transit and some have a really short transit for where they move around the sky. But you can look for patterns of all those different positions and how they're all connected to each other, and see repeatable things happening throughout the history of humanity. And so knowing that, you can look forward to how the sky is going to appear on any given date in the future. And you could say, these are some of the things that are likely to happen when everything in the sky is positioned in that way. Because if you look over the past, that's how it played out. So it's really the study of all of that and kind of mapping it out, and then seeing what the influence would be to the future. So it's not just some woo-woo prediction. It's actually repeatable and demonstratable. So when I think a lot of people just look in a newspaper and they get that little, it's almost like opening a fortune cookie. It seems like a totally random horoscope. That is just so generalized and usually not very accurate, because it's way more complex than that. It's way more complex. So first, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what all the basic terms mean, and give you a few tips for some easy things that you could look for that could give you a lot of insight. Some of these I was actually just looking up for myself, and it's pretty simple, but I had never looked before because we focus so much on our sun sign. So I think of astrology in general. Hold on, I got to get my chat out. Say hi in the chat if you're with me live so that I know the chat is working. And don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Even if you're watching the replay, the best way you can support my channel is to subscribe and to just hit the thumbs up button so that the video can reach more people. We're still working on getting me back into the algorithm since I abandoned this channel for a while. Okay. So I think of it like your life here on Earth, this lifetime, is sort of like this flow through time space. So I think of it like a river. So navigating your life is like being in a boat in the river. And there's going to be really calm areas, and there's going to be really rocky areas, and there's going to be big life events, and then there's going to be sort of just the everyday. And astrology, when used correctly, I mean, I guess there's no incorrect way to use it. I guess it's just like accurate or inaccurate. But if you look at the whole big picture, astrology can kind of form a map, your birth chart, which is what the sky looked like on the day that you were born, the day, the time, and the place that you were born. It's like a snapshot of the sky on that day. And we put that into a map. And that map can tell you a lot about what the river is going to look like, because everybody's got a different path in life. So it can tell you where the bumpy spots might be. It can tell you where major life events may happen for you. And this is just, it's an influence. It means it's like more likely to happen under that influence. It can tell you times that would be a strong influence for some kind of a great windfall, like playing the lottery. It could tell you when there's a strong influence for a breakup or the ending of a relationship, and you can watch out for that. So it's like, kind of being in the boat and knowing like, oh, when I go around that bend, it's going to get really rocky. And when I go around that bend, it's going to be calm. And like, where should I stop for lunch today? Like, I could just pull over to the side right now, but if I don't have a map, I might end up, that's where like the alligators nest. That probably wasn't a great place for me to pull off and have my lunch. But if I had the map and was looking at the map, I would know that just around the bend, there's going to be this really nice calm beach, which would be a much better place for me to pull off and have lunch. So it's just kind of like knowing the path a little bit better. It can inform a little bit about the influences, and you can decide or to make decisions based around that, or just have that little bit of extra knowledge about you. So basically the map of the sky, the day that you were born, is your birth chart. And your birth chart, where the sun was on the day that you were born, is your sun sign. So I was born in October. My sun sign is Libra. This is probably the sign that you're most familiar with, where the sun was on the day and time that you were born. In which of the map of for astrology is your birth chart, is your personal map of astrology on the day that you were born. But that map basically has 12 astrological houses, which you're probably already familiar with if you're even interested in this conversation. The 12 signs. So I don't even know if I know them all in order, but your sun sign is probably what you're most familiar with. That's where the sun was on the day that you were born. You can also look and see where the moon was on the day that you were born, and where Earth's moon was when you were born is called your moon sign. So like my moon sign is Leo, and that can give you information about your personality and your career and all that stuff. I'm not going to go too deep into any of that for this discussion. I'm trying to like really simplify it. So you have that, your moon sign. You also have where each major planet was when you were born. So where was Mars? Where was Venus? And so you have a Mars sign, you have a Venus sign, because it's basically where was it in the sky, in which of the 12 astrological houses of the zodiac, where was that planet? Where was that star? Where was that? Where was the sun? Where was the moon? Those are some of the biggest ones. Another big one for like finding life's purpose is your north node and your south node. And when you look at a wheel, I wonder, does this have a wheel in it? No, probably not. This is a really interesting book though. If you're interested in learning more, this is called The Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler. And it's astrological patterns in human culture, thought, emotion, and dreams. So this is like the study of the patterns of where all the planets are and what type of influence that has on a personal and like on a global collective level, which I find so fascinating to like see those patterns emerge. And you can even see it's not even just life events and all that, but it's so much in our culture, like all of our fairy tales, like those come from archetypes, and those archetypal patterns exist across like every culture on the planet, every different language on the planet. And it ties into art a lot too. A lot of art was influenced by like man's search for meaning or woman's search for meaning throughout recorded human history. So it all ties together in really fascinating ways. And my I was talking about this over the weekend too, but one of the things I love to do the most is like decode things or like recognize patterns in things. So for me, astrology is really fun to like see all those patterns play out. Um, and so if you wanted to study a celebrity or who's going to win an election or anything like that, you can actually look at the birth charts of all the people that are involved and you can kind of see what the influences are and maybe how it could play out. So I like looking at that stuff too. You can look up a country, like what's the birth date of a country, the day the country was formed. So America has America's birthday, and that's the day it was formed. So what was the sky like on the day America was born? That's the country's birth chart, and that has influence over like when are there heavier influences for revolution? When are there heavier influences for war? Where is it for prosperity or peace or are innovations in technology. So you could see cultural, like educational reforms at different times that there's a stronger influence for those things. So, and it's all tied together. Okay, so for you personally, your sun sign is where the sun was on the day that you were born, which astrological house it was in, and that has a lot to do with your personality. And so when you go to like Cosmo magazine and you open it up and you're like, what's my sign? What's my horoscope for my sign? It's sort of like what's happening during the next month. That's usually, it's like a monthly horoscope, right? So it'd be like, what's happening next month in August or in September? Look ahead and what's the sky going to look like for everyone born under this sign? Where do these influences fall within their chart? Because people within a month have like a similar chart to each other, but everybody's chart is totally unique. And so, you're always going to have variations on themes, basically. So these would be, what are the broader themes of the major things that are happening in the sky, and how will they influence people who are born under this horoscope house? So with their sun in that house. You also, on your chart, you have a north node and a south node to look for. And I'm going to show this today because I know that there are a lot of women who are in my membership community. If you want to talk more about all this stuff, deeper about any of this stuff, you can join my membership community. If you go to HeidiHopeLearning.com, go to the She's Gone Free membership community, and you can use the code YouTube to join for 50% off. So it's like for the cost of maybe 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks, you can be part of our community. And I do a private call with them every month, and we delve deeper into a lot of this stuff. But a lot of them are kind of interested in their birth charts and all that. And I'm still learning a lot about it too. So one thing to look for, hold on, I'm just going to get a piece of paper so I can draw it for you. One thing to look for is your north node and your south node. And I was looking up mine today because I haven't really done a lot of research in this area, and I think it's fascinating. So your south node is sort of like where you're coming from. They call it like a kind of more of your karma, or like what happened in your past lives, if you believe in that, or just like when you came into this life. It was sort of like usually something you've already mastered, or you already got really good at, or you've already experienced. You don't need to continue to experience. So you can look for your south node and see what sign it's in to like learn a little bit of insight about all of that. And you can look at where your north node is and look at where you're headed. So that's more like your dharma, your life's purpose, what career path might be great for you. Like, what are you meant to do here on earth? That can give you insight into what type of influences are there. So of course, that's what I'm more interested in. I'm always looking forward. Okay, so the symbol to look for on your birth chart, if you can get a free birth chart done if you've never done it before. I don't do it. You can go on to like type in free birth chart into Google, and you'll find plenty of websites that let you input your information. You need to know the date and the time when you were born and the place when you were born. So that'll be your birth chart then will be a map, because it's a language in and of itself. So it's basically a map of where everything was in the sky, which of the 12 zodiac signs, each planet, star, moon, sun, those are the big ones. There's a few stars that are big ones too. Exactly where all those things were in the sky. So this is a symbol that you're going to look for your north node. I'm going to draw it out. So when you look at your chart, let me see if this is looking right. I don't have my lips. Okay, there we go. So when you look at your chart, you're going to look for this little symbol, and where you see this symbol, you would look at what house it falls in the zodiac, and then that will give you information about what your possible path or purpose could be. So I was fascinated by this because your moon sign can also tell you a little bit about that. So my moon sign's in Leo, which is like the biggest star in the zodiac. Right? Leo is represented by the sun, so it's just like fiery. And I was surprised that my moon was in Leo actually, but it is very action oriented, and it's a fire sign. It is the sign of like visibility and like so being an influencer, or it's a lot of like actors and actresses and show business. It's the show business sign. It's like the big star of the zodiac. So I was like, okay, I guess that could make sense because I'm on camera a lot and all that stuff, right? But then my North Node really explained a lot more to me when I looked that up. So my North Node is in Sagittarius, I think. Hold on, wait, I gotta double check. I'm gonna pull it up. Gotta pull out my chart to double check. I think it's Sagittarius. You have to know the symbols of all the houses too, and sometimes that confuses me because they don't always match up. But okay, so in astrology, a North Node in Sagittarius suggests a life path focused on expanding one's horizons, seeking wisdom, embracing new perspectives, often through travel, philosophy, or higher learning. And then your South Node is always in the opposite sign, and you'll see that on the chart too. Your South Node will always be in the opposite sign of your North Node. And this is the symbol to look for. I'll draw it for you again. So it's basically just upside down. So this is North Node, this is South Node. So your South Node, mine was in Gemini, so it indicates a past life emphasis on gathering information and communication, and the current life journey involves synthesizing that knowledge into a deeper understanding and sharing it with the world. So that's kind of funny with what I'm doing now. I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's like truth seeking. That's basically my life's purpose. So I thought that was really informative, and it goes into like spirituality and yeah, I think a lot of what I do and what I'm interested in, that makes a lot of sense to me. So, so look up your North Node and your South Node if you don't already know it, because I think it can give you a lot of insight into your purpose. And then your moon sign also is related to your career. So where the moon was when you were born, that will also inform you a little bit too. Your sun sign's more like your personality traits and all that stuff. So have a look at it. I think it can really inform you in your like feeling of, your life's purpose and how to weave that into your career. And if you feel like because like you can be doing anything for work. I always think of this, like anything. A lot of us just associate work with making money. You can do anything to work to make money, but can you infuse some of that like North Node, the things you love, the things you're passionate about, the things you're driven towards, can you somehow like infuse that into whatever it is you're doing for your 9-to-5 work and just be so much more powerful and fulfilled in that position? And if you're not able to feel fulfilled in your 9-to-5, getting the paycheck job, how do you bring that into your life in other ways? Like, I guess a lot of what I was doing back when I was running a photo studio wasn't as close to my North Node as what I'm doing now in my work. But I was always doing it on the side. So I was always reading books about human potential. I was always seeking truth. I genuinely loved learning about all different religions because I was like, there's got to be like a core, like there's got to be this underlying thread that ties everything together in theology. And so that's why I was so fascinated with all that. And I'm fascinated with how the underlying patterns of the planets and affect the world, So that is your North Node, South Node. Those are the symbols to look for. Another one that's an interesting one to look into if you want to go deeper is Chiron. And if you look at where Chiron is placed in your chart, hold on, I got to look up the symbol. I think I remember it, but I want to make sure I don't mess it up for you guys. I'll show you what it looks like though. I'm going to draw it for you. Yeah. Okay. So it's like an O with a K on top. I'm going to draw it and show it to you. So you would look at your chart and you would look for this symbol and you would see which zodiac house it is in. And that can tell you where some of your core wounds or like shadow aspects are that you're here to heal in this lifetime. And so that's, I think, an important one to know too. And basically it's just whatever house it's in, and then what does that house influence? And so what might be the patterns that you would see? These are things maybe that are even passed down ancestrally to you. So that's pretty interesting too. If you want to know all the charts symbols, you can just stick that into Google. That's how I'm learning about it. I just, hear things and then I go look it up and research it. So you can find the whole, or you can even go to Etsy and they make charts with all the symbols on them. Maybe I'll make a chart and sell it with just all the symbols in the map, basically, because astrology is a language. It is like, what does each character represent on the map so that you can read the map? And that's just how to learn how to understand your birth chart. So obviously people, that was the wrong tab. People do like year-long courses in this information. There's like a lot. It goes really deep and it goes back for thousands of years. It's thousands of years that you can study the influence of everything and the patterns and what it looked like and how it could shape the future when those patterns reappear. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about was full moon and new moon energy. This at the surface level doesn't have to do with your birth chart, but you can also layer your birth chart over it and have a deeper meaning of what it all is. But the general influence on like the whole globe, we all know the moon influences things, right? Like the moon influences our tides. The moon influences our bodies and how we feel. The energy is different. You can see a pattern of like emergency rooms are more crowded under a full moon, or we say like people act crazy under a full moon. Full moon is like full emotions. So that's why we see a lot of this stuff play out in human behavior. So full moons, we have one coming up on the 9th. Yes, on Saturday the 9th. There's a full moon in Aquarius. So we can see, what does that mean? There's going to be a full moon in the sky. And where it's positioned in the sky is in the zodiac house of Aquarius. So the moon will be in Aquarius and it will be full. That's all that means. I don't know. I felt like I had to break that down a little bit because sometimes it sounds complicated. So that's what zodiac house it's in. Each zodiac house has different characteristics, as we know from a little bit, just from knowing what our sun sign is. And so the full moon being in that particular house is going to influence us in different ways. So the full moon coming up is going to be in Aquarius. And let's see. And then we also have right before it, the day before it, there's 8/8, which is considered the Lionsgate portal. It's just a day of high energy for manifestation. And then the full moon is this like culminating energy. So overall, it's a really good feeling full moon time. But you can start to look up, and obviously each of you has a different birth chart. So how both of those things influence you is going to be different. But you can look it up for your astrological sign and learn more about how it specifically relates to you. There is so much information out there. You can search on YouTube if you like learning through videos, you can search on YouTube, or if you just want to read about it, you can go search on Google and pull up articles and videos and more. But so you would want to type in, if you're going to search for how this would influence you specifically with your birth chart, you would say, how is the full moon in Aquarius going to affect your birth sign? So I'll say Libra. How is the full moon in Aquarius affecting Libra? Or how will the Lionsgate 8/8 portal affect Libra? And then you can get it a little bit more specific. But again, that's still general. That's to like everyone born under the same sky as you, or similar. It's never the same. Similar sky. And then from there, you can even see how it will affect your birth chart based on where each of those houses fall in your birth chart. So again, it's very layered and it goes pretty deep. Another thing people like to look for is like Mercury retrograde periods. We talk about how when the planet of Mercury goes retrograde, every planet goes retrograde. They spin backwards for periods of time as they move through the sky. So they're moving forward through the sky relative to the planet Earth, and then they spin backwards and they might stall out a little while. So Mercury goes retrograde very often. The bigger planets don't go as often. So those periods are related to like, technology glitches. It's currently in retrograde right now. There's more likely to be like travel interruptions, technology glitches. That's why they say like don't buy tech or tech like related stuff in Mercury retrograde. There might be a problem with it. Like we ordered our fridge. We needed a new fridge. We ordered it during Mercury retrograde. The ice we had first one was damaged. Then they replaced that. Then the second one, the ice machine didn't work. It's like those things are bound to happen, and it always happens during those times. But it gets a bad rap because of those delays and interruptions and problems. But it's also a really good time for other things. Anything that begins with re, they say, because it's like revisiting things. So relaunching, like you could have had a business that didn't do well when you launched it before, but you relaunch it during Mercury retrograde and it does really well because it's like revisiting something from the past and redoing it. Redoing contracts is good. Doing an initial contract, sometimes things can get mixed up, and it could be something little like a typo or a misspelling, or it doesn't have to be like a big life altering problem. It's just like little glitches kind of. So, I mean, it can be big stuff too, but that being said, it's like nothing to be scared of. It's just telling you what the influence is at the time. It's like you should reread a contract before you sign it. You should relook over things because the influence at the time energetically would be that things are more likely to get a little messed up. It's a good time to like clean closets and reminisce about the past, or go visit loved ones that you haven't seen in a long time, reconnect with people. Anything with that, relearn something, anything like that is a good time for that. And so I know that. So that's what I don't like I wouldn't ever stall out a big life decision because Mercury was going to be retrograde, but I would know that that's an influence that maybe it means I should take my time. Or if my live stream goes, like I should double check that my live stream is still going. Anybody here? Say hi in the chat if you're here. I can check and see if my live stream is okay, because I know that it's more likely to have some kind of an interruption. Or I went live the other day and the audio wasn't working. We had an audio glitch. Like these are the things that just happen. And so knowing it just makes us better prepared to go with the flow and manage things. And I've also taken time to clean out closets and get more organized, because this is a good time to do it. And you actually feel like doing it. I'm not one to love to clean out a closet, but usually when I do, I'm like, oh, Mercury's probably in retrograde, because I'm like just dying to clean my closets out. So it's just little ways that it influences. Again, it's nothing like that you have to like change your whole life around, or it should never keep you from making a decision, but like just understanding those influences. Like I said, it just makes navigating the river of life a little more easy. You've got a little bit of a map, and you can say like, oh yeah, that makes sense that this is happening now, and just be preemptive or make more informed, better decisions, so you don't end up in the alligator's nest for lunch. Okay. So just to review it, because I've been seeing people coming and going with the live. If you're just joining us, we were talking a little bit about astrology and birth charts and what those even are, what they mean, what to look for, and a few big things you can look for in your chart that could inform you about what perhaps your dharma, life purpose, life's work should include. And when I looked mine up just recently, I was like, wow, that makes sense. I think when we learn astrology more generally, like the basic horoscope that's in the newspaper or whatever, that's just so not deep enough. It's so general and not specific to our lives that, like I said, it sounds like a fortune cookie. It's like, yeah, sure, this could have been for anybody, But when we go deeper into the nuances of our own birth chart, it can give you a lot of information, more detailed. Sorry. My throat is so dry from the airplanes. It's kind of dry in here too. because the air is blowing on me. But every time after I fly, I get like a hoarse voice. So these were the big symbols to look for. So this was your North Node, your South Node, and Chiron. If you go get a free birth chart, you can just Google for a free birth chart. You'll get a picture. What I've done is I just screenshotted the picture of my birth chart. I can show you guys that too. So I can pull it up and like look things up about it. Here we go. So that's what your birth chart's going to look like. And you've got the on the outer edge is all the different signs of the horoscope. And then all the symbols inside the chart are where all the planets, stars, and moon was when you were born. And it shows your North Node and your South Node. I know that's not very clear to you. But that's what my North Node is up here in Gemini. My South Node is down there in Sagittarius. So you're just decoding basically. And there's a symbol for everything. You can look up all the symbols. You can get a chart of the symbols. Maybe I'll make you a chart of the symbols and you can gain some insights. And mine has been fascinating. Like once you get deeper into the chart, you're like, whoa, this explains so much that like maybe just your sun sign, which is where the sun was when you were born, a lot of people are like, I'm nothing like my sun sign, or like, I'm nothing like what my chart says, my sign. And other people feel more that it's more accurate for them. The other thing when it comes to like career and purpose, because that's what I do in a lot of my coaching work, is the moon sign. So see what your moon sign is, because that might relate a little bit more closely to your career and who you are to the world in your career. It's like how you present yourself in your professional life, that side of you that your moon sign can give you insight into. Hi, Julie. Yay. She says, I always struggle to identify with my sign, Leo. I need to look at my whole chart. Yes. So, and were you here earlier when I said I'm a Leo moon? And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So Libra, I do relate a lot to Libra personality wise. And Libra is like the scales of justice. So a lot of people end up being lawyers because it's so heavily tied to that. And so that didn't resonate with me because I don't care. Like I'm not passionate about that. Let's just say that. But my Leo sign made sense for my career because it's a little bit more like being in the spotlight. And I wouldn't say that it's my personality that I want to be in the spotlight, but on a career front, I've definitely been in the spotlight in my career. Right. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then, but then the North Node look at North Node, Julie, too, because that really, I didn't realize how influential those are, but, once I learned that too, I was like, oh, the North Node along with Leo, now it's making more sense because basically North Node in Sagittarius is like being a truth seeker and gaining wisdom and then sharing wisdom. And so, well, that fits, right? Always reading. Yeah. And then, this is the book too, The Archetypal Universe. This is what I was talking about. Like if you really want to go into the meaning of all the symbols and the planets and all the different influences that we're talking about, this book is extremely detailed in that. So you can really do a deep dive, but I would just start with getting your birth chart done. You can do it for free. Google it, do that. Figure out your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign is important too. And again, all this information is out there everywhere. But look up your North Node and your South Node if you're really thinking about like, what's my purpose next? Especially if you're in a career transition or whatever. I found that to be extremely insightful. So try that out. That's it. Yeah. And then big astrology stuff. The Lionsgate portal, they say I don't know who they are, but from what I read, it's really intense, like manifestation energy. It can be like dreams come true energy. It can just give you it's a powerful time if you're like putting a new product out there, putting a new service out there, just high like fire energy. And we're in Leo season too.